Welcome, everyone, to In Good Company. My name is William Joel, and I am the MC for this session. And today is my pleasure to welcome Ashley Goldstein from NVIDIA. She is a senior engineer with the NVIDIA Omniverse Exchange. She also had a stint previously in teaching art in secondary education. She has a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from Florida Atlantic University, as well as several professional certifications. And her passions and interests, they lie in 3D art workflows, specifically with regard to materials, textures, lighting, and modeling. Ashley, welcome to In Good Company.
Thanks, William. It is really great to be participating in this.
I'm so glad you agreed to this. And frankly, I'm still intrigued by the concept of the Omniverse. I'll be very honest, I'm still trying to wrap my head around exactly what it is, and more specifically, as an educator, what I can do with it. So let's start. Can you give us I would say a nickel tour, but that's probably dating me, a brief introduction to what the Omniverse is and how did it come to be? I mean, how did it start?
Yeah, that really is such a loaded question. And I've spent a lot of time defining it because it can really be different for whoever is working with it. And I say that oftentimes because Omniverse is seen as like a whole product where it's actually a development platform for USD, meaning you can really make it for what you want it to be, such as robotics, architectural, aerospace, scene development, a rendering engine, warehouse and industrial use cases, synthetic data. The list really could go on. So I think the most important part of that conversation with Omniverse is its wide range in capabilities, allowing its users to really harness the magic of USD. And when I'm saying USD, I'm referring to Pixar's Universal Scene Description API. Omniverse uses that to connect with other digital content creation platforms, and it allows its users the ability to work collaboratively through layers and a non-destructive workflow. So they can be working together on materials, lighting, blend shape animations, rigid body physics, and they can do that all together. So an example of that would be one user is editing the texture of a wall in a scene in Adobe Substance Painter in one layer, while another edits the geometry of a table in Maya in another layer, all at the same time live.
Okay. So would you call it a portal then in some sense? Or is it more than that?
A portal is a fine definition for it because it can lead you into so many different realities and whatever you're looking to do.
Now, is the tools that people can use through the Omniverse, are they strictly NVIDIA tools, or are they tools from other companies as well?
They're really tools from other companies, other creators. Because it's an open flat platform, it allows for everyone to participate. But because it uses USD, there's lots of other connectors to different softwares. So we work pretty closely with like Adobe, Autodesk, Epic Games, just to name a few of them, to help them create their connector, or we create the connector for them. But again, because it's an open platform, you'll find tools, plugins, connectors made from anyone in the community.
Excellent. So, and a user could actually develop their own tools as well if it's based on USD and utilize those too?
Yeah, Python and USD are the two APIs, and we've recently integrated C++, so it's open to so many different developers who want to use it.
Excellent, excellent. Now comes to the question that close to my heart: education. Have any educational institutions so far been able to utilize the Omniverse? And I'm talking about specifically with their courses or with research at the institutions. Have any institutions used it yet?
Yeah, there is quite a few that have, and many of them choose Omniverse for the variety of reasons I've said before. Either they wanted to teach USD, Python scripting, rendering optimization, animation, visual scripting, synthetic data. And because Omniverse can do all of that and still allow their students the familiarity and comfort of using other softwares that they may be more comfortable with, that's something that the educational institutions are looking at. And Omniverse allows that to be the presenter of all of the information for the softwares without losing the data. And the two institutions that I like to highlight the most that I've worked with are New Jersey Institute of Technology and Georgia State University. Matthew Schwartz, he's an assistant professor at NJIT in the College of Architecture and Design. Him and I have used Omniverse together to help him create lesson plans for his students. He likes to teach behavior scripts, visual scripting, animation, and Python to his students through games. So we recreated the Unity ball game, which is a popular tutorial. We created that in Omniverse for a lesson he was planning that integrated all of those elements that he wanted his students to learn. And he later came back and told me that his students really loved the visual scripting, which, of course, what design student doesn't love seeing a visual way for their programming behaviors? And then the other professor I would like to highlight is Dominic Maldonado. He works with Georgia State University students. He actually works for the city of East Point in Georgia, and he collects the GSU students at the end of their programs as interns. So for a whole semester, he works closely with them. And they connected apps like Unreal Engine and Blender to create and capture synthetic data using Omniverse's replicator. And the interns paired up in teams. So some were set to be asset designers and some were programmers. And they created ornaments, because this was around the holidays. They created ornaments in Unreal Engine and Blender, and then they used semantic data and replicator to randomly generate all the ornaments around the tree and then annotate those locations. So it was a fun practice in synthetic data and Python. And then later on, these students graduated shortly after the internship, and many of them have reached out to me about learning more in artificial intelligence and finding career paths along that. So I'm really proud of their work.
This is fascinating. I will tell you that one of the things which I started doing in the last couple of years when I was teaching introduction to programming classes, I had students in those classes. We built from scratch in Python or Java a 2D arcade style game engine from scratch.
Wow.
Which is fairly simple. I mean, we're only dealing with 2D arcade. You know, you're not dealing with truly animations, and you're not dealing with lighting or anything like that. But I do believe that having students involved with something like gaming to teach programming concepts, and it sounds like that's what some of these instructors are doing, is a very useful tool, because students come with a knowledge of games already. Therefore, you don't have to teach them about games, what they are. Rather, they can use that knowledge then to expand their knowledge of what systems programming is, et cetera, animation, modeling, texturing.
Right.
Wow.
As an educator myself, I taught middle school art. And when we were online for the pandemic and I didn't know how to teach art online, I started teaching visual scripting. So these students, they're familiar with games, and then they're getting introduced to programming. So I think for educational institutions, even in post-secondary, to be able to teach gaming for all these different elements is really important. The students love it and they get engaged very quickly.
Yeah, it's one thing which I have to push a little bit for art students sometimes, or the more artistically motivated students, that in today's corporate environment, especially with respect to game development, animation, et cetera, you have to know a little bit about programming, because you probably will have to do a little bit of scripting, or at least be able to understand how the scripts are written and what the scripts are doing, because not everything comes in the package from the company, from the vendors, I should say. You have to actually do a little extra coding. And then this is fascinating. So before we leave, how could an educational institution get involved with the Omniverse? What would they have to do? And that important question, what would be the cost?
So we have a whole team here at NVIDIA that works closely with other institutions, and they help them with the resources that they need to use Omniverse as a foundational platform for learning in their lessons. But it's free. We have a whole teaching kit available to professors. All they need to do is go to the link, which we can provide to them, I'm sure, William,
We'll
right?
stick it to the end of this video.
Wonderful.
It'll be there.
And they just request it. We send it to them. It's absolutely free. Omniverse is free. So there is no cost up front for them to get started.
Now, this is all in the cloud, correct?
Omniverse is not in the cloud just yet. That is in the works for future, but Omniverse has to be installed on a computer.
Okay.
Really, PCs work the best. We do support Linux and Mac, but there are a lot more functionalities with PC users, and if the computers have RTX cards, but also a recent integration is that you don't need a ray tracing graphics card to use Omniverse. So that's all new.
All right. So you're saying that Omniverse as a quote unquote package is installed on a local PC,
right?
On a client PC. And I would assume that on your website, you have the bare minimum requirements for the PC somewhere posted. Mm-hmm. Okay, as well as bare minimum for a Linux box or for a Mac.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So before we leave, anything else that you'd like to share about the Omniverse? Fun story, fun fact, a little bit about where it's going in the future.
I think where it's going in the future is really just honing in on universal scene description, because there is so much magic to it, being able to capture all of that data. So Omniverse is so much more than just another software for educators to implement. It's really just making it easier for them to teach the foundations with the rigor that they strive for. And as an educator, I know how important that is in the classroom. We want our students to be successful when they leave our class. So I think the dive into USD is going to be a big part of that now.
Okay. Oh, quick question. Is there any kind of form online for people who utilize Omniverse where they can ask questions of each other, et cetera? Does that exist yet?
Yeah, we do have the developer forums, and we have a Discord. So the Discord is more than just developers. There's technical artists, there's 3D generalists, there's animators. We have all of the different connectors and servers. And me and a lot of people on my team do live streams every week where we teach different parts of Omniverse. So it's a really great community where people can go and hang out and chat about Omniverse and USD.
So if an educator has a question about something of how they can utilize the Omniverse in a specific way in their courses, they have people they can turn to.
Yes, absolutely. And even Matthew Schwartz from NJIT, he's super active on there, and he loves to answer educators' questions. So I'm sure he'll be there and I'll be there. So it's the NVIDIA Omniverse Discord server.
Just be careful, because we educators, sometimes we don't know when to shut up. We keep talking. Anyway, Ashley, thank you very much for being with us today on In Good Company. And I look forward to seeing you at the SIGGRAPH conference every so often. Hopefully.
I'll be there.
Oh, yeah, I'll be there too. And I know we're going to be in connection in the future. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you, William. I'm so glad I got to participate in this. Thank you.